Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the August 24th live stream of the Circus of Lies. And we have our some of our usual, and Ook, Blarg are the usuals. Neil was able to come on, and I know it's really
once a month for me, but hello.
It's a bank holiday, so we can afford to get pissed during the week.
Yeah. And so we're always appreciative when Neil is able to join us. And then the one person, or actually a couple of other regulars that aren't on, are John Clark and Jeebus. Although Jeebus did change his handle now, so I'm not sure how he wants to be referred to as. But John Clark did want to just kind of take a little bit of time off from all these the trolls, having to deal with the trolls in the comments. But we should see him back next week.
That does sound like a smart plan.
Sheehan Must Be Obeyed is also listening in, so trying to anyway.
It's working.
Excellent.
Oh, hey, Stephen.
So before we got on live, we were talking about the whole, what did Jesus actually do? What did his sacrifice actually get us? And Blarg was asking that question. So if you want to re-ask that.
Yeah, sure. It's a curious question because it remains the foundational element of Christianity. Pretty well as a matter of fact for all Christians. But beforehand, people went. Hang on.
Actually, Jeebus.
Weird echo there.
Yeah, I think that's so. Jeebus, I'm muting your mic because it's causing a little bit of echo. Go ahead, Blarg.
Yeah, so beforehand, we had people who were going to heaven and we had people who were going to hell. Afterwards, we had people who were going to heaven and we have people who are going to hell. There's, as Ook pointed out, it is tied up in this idea of original sin. But we still have that anyway. That hasn't gone away. That's a central tenet in most Christian theology as well, that the original sin didn't go away. So yeah, it seems a question that almost no Christian asks, and I'm yet to receive a coherent answer to that question.
Well, to play the devil's advocate here, I think what the Christians would say is that what Jesus' sacrifice has bought is the ticket. Now, you get to choose that ticket or refuse the ticket, but essentially you have this ticket to heaven, regardless of what any of your sins were, and also regardless of your original sin. So that's the difference. You now have an out. A way to get forgiveness for your original sin as well as all your other earthly sins.
Yeah, but that's the point. People in the Bible beforehand still went to heaven, so there was an out existing there prior of some kind. I did once have a person make the argument that the difference was that beforehand it was only available to Israelites, and then afterwards it was available to everyone. And that's probably the best answer I've heard all over, but it doesn't really hold any weight because those words or that theology doesn't actually exist in the Bible, to my knowledge.
Yeah, and it actually causes a problem because this whole Christian idea of grace, it pretty much throws out justice out the door. So prior to Jesus, you'd have to be good in order to be able to get to heaven. But after Jesus, especially the way Paul created this whole theology around what Jesus said, he made it in order to get the Gentiles and everyone to be able to get on Christianity. and not have to be part of the chosen tribe. But you can pretty much do anything, have done anything. You could be Hitler, or you could be Jeffrey Dahmer, or Mao, or Stalin, any of those guys. It doesn't matter what they did. We don't ever get retribution, or they don't get any punishment. They just go and believe in, have that faith, believe in Jesus, and then they are at the same level as the most innocent person ever, also going to heaven after believing Jesus. They're all at the same level. One is not at one is not at a better position than the other. At least there's nothing in the Christian Bible about that.
The Catholics have got a very convoluted way of explaining it. That's why they brought in purgatory and drawing a blank, paying people to say masses and all that sort of bullshit. Penances, yes, and indulgences and all that crap.
Well, the indulgences was really a way for the church to get money.
Oh,
right?
It's just a racketeering. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I know that you had brought up what Miranda is raising here about this whole blood sacrifice. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's basically we were born human, and that's a sin. And because we have the blood of Adam and Eve in our veins, we are sinners. And that's what the Catholicism tried to install, is that we're born human, we're sinning. We're just sin. It's blood, generational sin. And they kept that up from the Jewish tradition of generational sin for quite a while. It was only, I think, around the 1900s that they started to drop the generational sin completely out of church doctrine in the Vatican. It just wasn't working for them because, one, they had so many priests who were bastards, literal bastards. That's what you did if you were a nobleman or a person of wealth. Had a kid out of wedlock, shove them into the church and make them a priest or a nun. So it's just twisted. I mean, I'm certified bastard, red-haired, left-handed. So, according to biblical tradition, I'm fucked. I can never get into heaven. That was me. Hang on.
Well, I guess Catholicism definitely is a lot more complicated, and because of their longer history, they've had to kind of create all these mechanisms to address some of the I guess unintended consequences of their belief. For example, the whole idea that an unbaptized baby essentially goes to hell, right? But they had to modify it so that they don't go to hell, they don't go to heaven. I believe they go to purgatory, right, Luke?
Yeah, that's right. And you can buy an indulgence to get them out. It's all
Nice.
very strange. What was I? My tutor, old brother Fossil, who got sent out from the Vatican, he said Catholicism is one of the few religions that has been forced to evolve. The only problem is the rate that the Catholic Church evolves makes glacial movement look like light speed. And I always thought that was just a nice little quip from him, especially from someone who worked in what is it?
Inquisition.
Before they changed the name, he worked for the Roman Inquisition. It's now something for the doctrine of the
They
faith
changed it twice.
or whatever. But yeah, it was. He was a really, really clever man. Several doctorates.
Well, so
Oh,
I didn't get a chance to introduce Jeebus or Tuna Man. So Jeebus, I know you changed your handle to Tuna Man, and I think you said there was some long story behind it. Was it because you were like getting harassed by theists or something?
Actually, it's something a little less serious.
up
How do
your
I
mic
stop?
a bit.
Hang on a sec. How's that?
Still soft.
Too soft?
Okay, try it
Can you
now.
hear me
Try
now?
it now. Oops.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
No, I do streaming on other platforms. Fortunately, the name and picture came out when it shouldn't have. So I did this so I wouldn't have that happen again. Yeah, in my other platform, being an atheist is very much frowned upon. So I guess you might say peer pressure, or I just I don't want to be ostracized by the group, I guess. Yeah. Although they're not very religious. A couple of them are. Yeah. But I don't think anybody noticed it. That changed it pretty quick. Yeah.
But you had your comment about the Old Testament there being alternative to the blood atonement. Were you being serious with that? There's flour and oil?
Yeah, there are all kinds of different ways that they could atone for sin. Read, I think it's Deuteronomy, or maybe it's Numbers. But there are these weird rituals that involved flour and oil, and I think birds also.
Yeah, it gets even weirder.
Yeah.
It sounds like they made fried chicken. That's what it sounded like.
More dust.
Yeah.
It gets even weirder if you read the Tamil and some of the mystic Jewish writings. I mean, there's a recipe.
Oh, the mystic Jewish writings are amazing.
There's a recipe in there for fried foreskin, and I shit thee not. For infertile woman it's really bizarre.
Well, I think it's probably from Leviticus 14, which has a lot of different kind of, different rituals. So there's a blood of a bird that's used to clean the leper. There's a flour, which is a grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil presented alongside the blood. And then oil is used to anoint the leper. So a lot of this is about kind of the cleansing of the leper. Is this what you meant, Jeebus, or Tuna Man?
Yeah, there are other parts where it was called a wave offering or a wave atonement, because it wasn't just for one thing. For lepers, there were a lot of different rituals that you had to do every time you sinned.
Let me see.
A lot
So
of them
it was
are
called
listed.
wave offering?
Yeah.
A lot of them are listed in the Dead Sea Scrolls because of that particular cult of Judaism. They've got some really interesting rituals in there, especially to do with bathing.
Okay, well, definitely there are a lot of kind of weird things in the Bible. that interesting enough, not too many of the Christians seem to be aware of.
Well, they don't like to read. I've come to that conclusion. I mean, they just don't like to read. Unless
Well, we
it's...
had that one guy, was it, I think it was Paul, the one that basically said, well, the Bible doesn't say that that it's okay to own people. And I think a couple of us immediately gave the verses where the Bible explicitly talks about, owning people.
Oh, I haven't got a joke ready for anyone,
All
but
right.
if anyone's got it, can you bring up a short little video if I give you the link? Q? It's
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I'll post it. It's, hang on. And there's not too much swearing, so Miranda, you don't have to cover your ears. But I think you're used to me by now. Okay, here we go. Just to make the chat go a little nicer. There we are.
Okay, did you post in the regular chat? Okay, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. It's a nice little song.
Whoops. Now I have to
Find it.
copy link.
Oh,
Okay.
there's my
Is that
mate.
the right one?
Kevin Wilson. Did it? Yeah, that's it.
See, to his credit, Nigel's a very, very gifted hunter, as most desert Aboriginal people are. And Nigel's even better than most. And I'm talking traditional hunters with a spear and the woomer and the boomerang. And when Nigel got to America, he got there on some overseas Aboriginal employment avoidance scheme or some fucking thing. But when he got to the States, the Americans are big on hunting. And so they said, hey, Nigel, you ever been out hunting bear? Nigel said, yeah, well, I did one time, but them fucking koalas too fucking easy, eh? No, man, we ain't talking about no koala bears. We talking about grizzly bears. You ever been out hunting grizzly bears? Nigel said, nah, never done that. Said, well, y'all come with us. We'll show you how it's done. So they took him out into the woods, and typical American overkill, they'd built this huge big log cabin out in the centre of the woods. They all turn up in their four-wheel drives, decked out in their fatigues, carrying AK-47s and fucking Armalite style weapons of mass destruction. Right? They got out there. Nigel turned up. All he had was a fucking boomerang, pair of stubby shorts, and one fucking thong. Hey, Nigel, you lost a shoe. He said, no, I fucking found one. Look at that. What y'all gonna do with that stick? He says, that's not a stick, that's a fucking boomerang. It's only a stick if it doesn't come back, eh? I'm gonna get a grizzly. And with that, he fucked off into the woods, and the Americans are all sitting back like, holy shit, he get himself killed out there. He ain't back in an hour. We're going looking for him. And an hour slowly ticked past, no sign of Nigel. The Americans, oh shit, he's in trouble. We'll try and find him. So they're just about to leave the cabin. They hear this, open the fucking door! They look out the window, there's Nigel, he's running like fuck. He's got this huge grizzly after him. It's got a big lump on its head and it's not real fucking happy. Open the fucking door! So they got up and opened the door. Just as Nigel got to the door, he jumped to the left. The grizzly went straight in the cabin. He kicked the door shut, stuck his head through the window and said, skin that cunt, I'll go and get another one.
Well, I'll bet that a lot of comedians outside of the U.S. make fun of the U.S. and their gun obsession.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing with Kevin is he makes jokes about Australian Aboriginals, but he's loved by them. He loves their art. He goes to their settlements. He does shows where no one else will go out and do shows. And people from outside might think it's racism, but it's actually he's turned it around, like some government employment avoidance scheme. It's it's just funny. I just thought that was a nice. I couldn't tell a joke as good as that, so I thought that'd work. And I posted another link to Miranda, but the rest of you can go and watch it at your own time. And I think everyone can relate to that thing. That one. It was over before it began. And yeah, have a listen to that. Did anyone? I mentioned Superwog or Skippy, the White Slavers. Did anyone watch that?
I didn't get a chance to.
That's all right. I'll put it in the later on. I'll put it in the link anyway. Looks like no one's turning up.
Yeah, so I just checked. Neither of those
Quiet.
guys are actually in the chat. So, I mean, I think Steve has pretty much, gotten tired of all of us just, essentially shooting down every argument that he makes, every
Asking
stupid
him what
argument that he makes.
objective means about 5 times,
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, he really doesn't seem to understand, moral philosophy in general, but he's kind of stuck on this idea that somehow morality that is subjective. It means that anything could be right or wrong, and there's no right and wrong whatsoever. But that is not the case. Just because that there could have been a society in the past that actually thought slavery was okay, such as the Hebrews or, a lot of people in that region. That doesn't mean that slavery is right or subjectively right. It's subjectively wrong currently. And we can judge, past cultures using our current subjective moral judgment. That doesn't make it less wrong, just because there were times in the past where it could have been right. But he doesn't seem to understand that point.
The way I always put it is you don't need a tape measure to work out who's the taller of two people. So you don't need an objective standard to measure that. Just like with morality, you can look at 2 acts and ask yourself the question, which one of these achieves a better outcome for the people? And they're like, but what does better mean? Yeah, well, most people have the idea that if they are getting themselves harmed in some way, in a process, then that's probably not better. So yeah, but you don't need an objective standard in order to have a standard.
Yeah, I really like that the analogy that you use, and you used it last week with Steve as well, that just saying that there's a tape measure doesn't mean much if you don't have any access to that tape measure. Because all these guys can say is that, oh, there's objective morality, but they can't say anything about it.
Yeah, and
Well,
whenever they attempt to make use of it, it falls apart pretty well at the very first question. You're like, well, great, let's assume you do have a objective, that there exists an objective morality standard somewhere. You go, big whoop, because what you're using clearly can't be it. Being that you then have to start making excuses, and all of a sudden something was it's okay then, but it's not okay now. And yeah, if it changes, it's not objective. If it was wrong,
Jim
it has
Edith
to
standard,
always be
if
wrong.
he says it's objective, it's objective.
Yep. So he has oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask Neil, does Lib hate you as well?
Oh, Libby, ever since I put up numbers 31, she's had it in for me. Because she ended up deleting her thread when she supported the genocide because it ended up with Jesus.
What
and
is
so
this?
I draw a parallel with the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And of course the thread died after that.
Got a right knot in the knickers.
Yeah.
This new fad of deleting their threads is just, it's so cowardly.
Or dishonest.
Yeah,
You prove that you can't be trusted if you can't stand by your own word.
yeah, and I mean that's why I take screenshots of some of the more the disgusting stuff that comes out. But you know, I'm going to have to get a bigger hard drive.
Well, so yeah, I think, you know what, I don't know if you take the screenshot, but what you can do is you can just save the page, and then, you know, then it becomes kind of this HTML file that you could potentially just search through. But it seems like a lot of effort having to take screenshot of some of these threads that they delete.
It's just one click for me. Am I using Windows 10? Yes, I did. Yeah, see, I moved on to Windows 10 this year. I'm you know, I'm so hip. I know. Yeah, I'm horrible at technical stuff.
Well, I think the other
Was this
reason
edge now? Is it?
delete those things is so that they can essentially, you know, repeat that same argument as if it's never been debunked.
And for
Yeah, and
Carl,
that's the inherent.
yeah, for
That's
Carl,
the
it's a
inherent.
way.
Dishonesty.
Oh no, I was just going to say that's the inherent dishonesty of it. That you go and delete it, and then act like it never existed, and then come back with exactly the same question again. Nobody can answer this question. You go, except for the other 100 times.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
If the criticism is deleted, it doesn't exist.
yes, and oh no, you can't report. It's this. You know, you're a groomer, you're a pedophile, you've raped people, you're blah blah. It's yeah, no, and they delete it. But if you got a screenshot, you can send it off via their profile to YouTube and get them either banned or a couple of weeks time out. Did anyone catch the line last week with Matt and our friend Ricky turned up? Levine.
No, I didn't see it.
He what was his other name? No, come back to me. My brain's had a fart.
I just wanted to mention what Steve or Stefan said in the comments. What Steve doesn't get is that all morality is subjective based on the culture you grow up in. Theists can't see anything outside of their own damn bubble. So I would actually disagree with that, but because I don't think morality not all morality has to be subjective. There are definitely a lot of moral systems out there that are based in, you know, objective standards, arguably. So the example I always think of is Kant's ontology, where it's based on his idea of reason. So it's not culturally based. And there are other moral systems that explain. So it's more of it's not a normative but a descriptive morality, where the basis of the principles that, you know, that it's describing is based on essentially evolution. So even though you know, cultures can change, there are kind of fundamental aspects of being a human being that could be the foundation for an objective morality. But I know a lot of you guys probably disagree with me on that. I think Blark, especially you.
Not entirely. So, for example, once you go along and decide upon what your goals are, you can then solidly establish methods of measuring that. You know, that's the sort of approach I've taken in my professional career over the years. You set up a framework, and then under that framework, you can measure progress towards or away from your target goals. So I don't necessarily have a problem with the idea per se. Just that I have a problem with the idea of there being an inherently moral outcome. So, for example, the way I suppose I'd put it is humans have certain characteristics about us. So as a result, we have certain ways which make sense for us. So humans, for example, have very low birth rates. So as a result, we have extremely high care for our infants. And this necessarily results in us having extremely high we place infants very, very high in our value chain. If, for example, we weren't human per se, but we were more like sunfish that produce millions of offspring, the death of an infant doesn't even, who gives a rat's? You've got millions of them, so just so long as at the end of the day you produce at least 2 of them before the end of your life, they make it to adulthood, then that's all fine. So some of our morals are rooted in our biology, and that makes sense why it would seem like it's a objective standard, but at the end of the day, it sort of comes down to how we've evolved rather than there being an underlying objective issue to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I think the
that's
difference.
kind of what I
Go ahead.
use. Yeah.
Yeah, once you start off, because we are primates and social primates at that, once a goal is agreed upon, nope, you don't hurt kids, or you don't hurt the offspring. Babies are, taken off you can't hurt a baby.
Well, I think the objective portion is the principles. So the idea is that the principles of that moral system won't change. However, the outcome from the principles could change, and I think that's what you were getting at, Blarg. So within the principles of let's say just propagation of the species, it might make sense or it might be moral to make sure that you take care of your babies. But in a different situation, that same principle could result in a different action being considered moral.
Have you read Peter Wyatt by any chance? He's a guy.
No.
He's written a few like sci-fi stories. Blind Sight is his most famous one about consciousness.
What is the name? Pete what?
Peter Wyatt.
Oh, Wyatt.
Wyatt. Yes, and
like
he's done one about basically where we meet aliens that don't have consciousness.
Ecopraxia.
Yes, Ecopraxia. That's the one I was thinking of, where we meet aliens that have a completely different biological morality because of how they reproduce, and they think nothing of subjecting their children to pain and bloodshed, because that's how you get adults. And it's really bizarre to them that we don't do that. And it's interesting because he faces all these philosophical questions in the context of a sci-fi story, and how we try and get around them without being blown to smithereens by these advanced aliens.
Well, so one of the reasons I keep trying to get Jim on this live stream is to kind of push him on his ideas, as well as with Steve. If he comes on, I don't want to talk to him about
that's
slavery.
why Jim will not come anywhere near this live stream because he can't deal with being pressed on his claims. He wants his claims to be accepted as truth because he said them.
Well, so we talked about that whole tape measure thing. So for Jim, all he has is, just a claim that there is morality, but he actually admits that he doesn't have access to that because, it's in the realm of God, right? You can't know what God is, so you can't actually know what that moral truth is. But his explanation or his fallback for that is that he has this moral intuition, and it is coming from God, so it is morally true, which is complete bunk, right? For
But
very obvious reasons.
but he's
Yeah,
also
no, I was
he's a liar because he categorically I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Christian. Bullshit. He is. He's just hiding behind his version of God, capital G. He's just
the
completely.
God who isn't a god. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a twit. It was Spartan who got on the line, and Matt called him out. And
Oh, what?
said,
Really? You're talking about really? Sparty was on?
Lovely.
It was in the text, and it everyone was giving him a hard time. And Matt stopped the whole show and said, "Right, call screeners, hold open a line." Kept a line open for him for half an hour. Did not call.
Oh.
It was brilliant, and he ended up getting banned from the chat. But Matt called him out. Stop being a gutless little and come and talk to me one-on-one. There's
So
a line
that was
open.
last week. Do you know which video it was?
Give me a minute. I'll be back.
So the good thing about the line is that they will replay the chats, or most of the time that they do. Unlike the AXP, where they could, but they don't. There's probably more sensitivities with them, just being a nonprofit, but still, it seems like they should be able to retain the live chats.
Is the line the one that there's a guy who comes into AXP chat occasionally who keeps challenging people to come over and actually call, and he'll have them on the show.
Oh, I haven't noticed.
What's his? Because he did that with Flobe Joe, and I think he said it to Jim Edith as well, going, look, this is a link to my related atheist channel. It's my channel. You can come on it, and I'll put you on.
That doesn't sound right.
They never take him up on that idea for some reason.
So it's on the live chats for an AXP show?
He's coming to, he's usually been on the live ones, but he does occasionally come into the chat.
I think that might be Pine Creek.
Oh, okay.
He's an ultra right wing, for want of
a word. Oh God,
wanker.
no.
Yeah.
Let's not go near that.
If you search in YouTube, go Pine Creek, you'll bring it up.
I've heard of him.
Yeah. He's
but he does have a channel, so I didn't realize he comes on trying to challenge people to come on.
I just put the I'm pretty sure it's the line with I put it in the text there anyway. Cue to go through and have a look.
Well, the thing is, like, Sparty hasn't been in the comments for a long time, at least not in the AXP comments. So I'm surprised that he's on the line now.
And he's using he's not using all he's only got one profile left. All the others have been removed. I double checked that when I saw him mouthing off in the live stream last week.
And which profile was he using?
Richard someone or other.
Rich Lambert?
That's the one. Yeah.
Okay.
Rick Lambert.
Yeah, Rick Lambert. That's right.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I have to look that up.
Yeah, it was quite funny.
Although, they may have deleted his comments when they banned him. I'm not sure if those things remain.
Yeah, not sure myself. I know I just checked, and the live chat is still up there, but I don't know whether you'll be able to see his comments, but you'll definitely be able to see people responding to him, and Matt's go at him, which is really good. Nice to see.
If the account's been deleted, the all the comments associated with it and all the threads all vanish.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So,
Oh well, I mean, I think he's
He was
banned
only banned
in the live
from
chat,
he wasn't banned from
not
YouTube.
the entire channel.
Yeah, because he still made a
oh
comment.
no, I'm talking about the account and YouTube
Oh yeah,
as opposed to individual channels.
Well, my understanding is if you ban someone entirely from your channel, all their comments would disappear as well, just for that channel.
I think you are correct.
I couldn't say one way or the other.
Yeah. Tuna Man, Matt and Pine Creek disagree on basic politics. Pine Creek is a ultra right-wing, conservative, Trump-supporting atheist who's started off all right and then just went down. He's the atheist version of Darth Dawkins.
Ooh,
That's a good way to
that sounds like
describe
Nibbles
it.
or what's his name, Niblick.
Yeah, but he actually
who hate me for basically commenting on anything.
Yeah, he did, as Chitling said, he got on the line, and it was sort of a decent conversation, but it was basically him saying, "Oh, I'm being picked on by all the." It was just really just a big cry session about how other atheists are treating him bad, which he deserves. Yes, Paul, you're right. He's into Project 2025. Yeah, he supports that all the way.
You mean the thing that Trump doesn't know anything about, but knows
that's
that it's
right.
got some weird stuff in it that he doesn't like, and you go, "Oh, that's ironic,"
Yeah,
and you go, "That's one
the one.
sentence he managed to undercut himself in." Well, yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I know it contains stuff that's a bit out there. You just go, "What?"
I literally had someone yesterday say to me that Project 2025 is a left-wing lie. And I went, entirely orchestrated by leftists. And I went, well, how do they get all these rightist Trump supporters to not only write down what they want, but to record videos and everything? And that's a lie? It was a weird statement, and it's like they've got no relation to the truth on the MAGA wing anymore. Well, they just
they don't even
say,
try anymore.
Yeah, it's like it's bad. Oh, it's made up by leftists.
Yeah,
regardless of how true it is, they've got no connection with reality whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like the January 6th thing. Oh, they were all Antifa people or the FBI. Actually, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
One thing, Steve was, I think it was Libby, ranting on the latest video about slavery, blah blah blah. I pointed out, what are they teaching you at school? Did you not learn about the British blockade, the African blockade? That was the British Navy stopping any slave ships in or out of Africa, which forced the USA to actually breed their own slaves.
Yeah,
that's how all that came about. It was basically the Brits saying, well, we can stop your economy. You kicked us out. We're going to stop your economy up. When making sure you can't get any more slaves. Something.
Let's not forget, though, that while the Brits were banning slavery and then blockading some of it, it was mostly done for economic reasons.
Well, I was
they
just
didn't
about to
need
bring
them
that up.
anymore.
Oh yeah,
They didn't need them in most of their colonies anymore. But in the one colony where they did need it, well, at least they thought they needed it, Sri Lanka, they cut that section out of the laws against it. So it was perfectly legal to continue the slave trade there, just not anywhere else.
Oh yeah, it's all.
Yeah,
it was all
that
driven
sounds
by
like us.
pounds, which I think is rather funny. But one of those strange things. I was going to.
Go ahead.
If like Neil can't make it too many times, but if the next time Neil can make it, would everyone be agreeable to Neil and I having a bit of a convo back and forth, re Aboriginal spiritual beliefs and Neil's theistic beliefs? Because from what I'm gathering, they're sort of very intertwined, very similar. Not now, obviously, but yeah, at a later date.
Did you mean like at a different time, like an earlier time for Neil?
No, at the same time. The next time Neil can make it, if he stays up and doesn't get too pissed, just keep him away from the pub. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine.
Interest people.
Because it sounds good. It sounds interesting what you've said to me so far. So,
because what a lot of people don't understand is there is no one Australian Aboriginal culture. There were waves of immigration coming in through Papua New Guinea and Indonesia whenever the sea level dropped a little bit. And basically, people got forced into the centre of Australia by stronger tribes immigrating in, because who wants to live in the bloody desert? And so coastal areas, there was a lot of warfare, and a lot of the earlier tribes were pushed into the middle, and their spiritual beliefs change depending on how far away they are from the coast, depending on how much interaction they had with the islanders, all that sort of stuff. So it's just an interesting thing. And pardon me. And from what I understand of Neil's theology, very similar reverence for nature and just I think it might interest other people. Not that I hold to any of the Aboriginal beliefs, it's just I've been exposed to them a lot and study and all that. That's me.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Talking of Aborigines, has there been? Can't call them Aborigines anymore. Has there been? Wasn't there a ban on genetic testing for their ancestry?
No. Some clans have, but no. Most are very proud of the fact that they are the world's oldest living continuous culture. Going back, they became a separate genetic people between 70 and 65 million years ago.
Not million.
Million. 1,000. Sorry.
1,000. Yeah.
And I mean, the oldest fossils footprint of humans is in Australia.
So 100,000 years ago?
Yep. That was
Yeah,
around
those.
100, give or take. But it's a bit iffy because the problem with
Yeah.
Australia is it's so eroded. Oh, hello? You there, below?
Yeah, sorry, my dog's just started barking, so I thought we don't need to inflict that on everyone. Yeah, you can hear him in the background, I'm sure. I was going to say the science really only supports somewhere around the 65-ish range. We can't really squeeze it much further than that. The DNA clock sort of matches roughly that. The timing of ocean of sea level drops roughly sort of fits that. And archaeological evidence of sort of people through Southeast Asia kind of fits that timeline as well. So that seems like a pretty solid sort of spot that they've landed on there. It'd be really hard to push it much further out than that.
I just Chia must be obeyed. Just double checked. Mungo, I think, is 40,000.
Mungo is 41,000.
41,000 years old, the footprint, and the other one is 20 in Arnhem land. We also have the
quite
problem.
nicely into that.
Yeah, we also have the problem with trying to date rock art due to the fact of they're painted over and over and over. It's like painting, 57 Mona Lisas over the top of one. And you can't destroy the rock art unless you're a miner. But that's another subject. Yeah, so it's a little bit hard to get a proper dating, but it's close to a science. It's close to, well, it's a scientific fact that we Australian Aboriginals, the oldest continuous
bird footprints.
Culture in the world, which is just something to throw up into any young Earth creationist, is that, and Australia's flora. It's explain the platypus.
Well, I think a lot of people have mentioned the DNA as pretty much being evidence of evolution, just because looking at the DNA clock and coming up with the phylogenetic tree from all the different sequences, of which we have quite an extensive amount now, it pretty much definitively says, basically their evolution is what drove all these differentiation of species.
And anyone who knows what DNA is and the fact that animals reproduce knows that evolution is inevitable. You will get change occurring no matter
when Jay either says mutating chemicals, he doesn't know what DNA is.
The one piece that is missing from most people's understanding, though, in that matter, is the part where it comes to the way in which proteins work, because most people have this idea that proteins are required to be exactly the same. You make one tiny change, and they're completely useless. And that's a major failure to understand. So, you could easily come to the conclusion that the moment you get any sort of single nucleotide change, which changes a single amino acid in a protein, without that knowledge that it's not that important most of the time, you'd think that it would be detrimental immediately. But yeah, that's not how that works. There's only certain sort of spots within a given amino acid that are vital to the functioning of it, and you can change it quite a lot.
Yeah.
and only make small sort of modifications to its efficiency. And some of those
Yeah,
modifications might actually be better.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
whole different alleles is just that, there are, copies of or genes with slightly different sequences, so slightly different versions of protein. So if a single change would destroy a protein, it would not be possible to have multiple alleles.
Yeah, I was looking at I was traveling last week, coming back from spending some time with my auntie, and she was recently put onto some new medication, which is a very low dose antipsychotic to help with delusions associated with her Alzheimer's. And I was having a look at that because, sometimes things go a little bit haywire. And apparently the pharmacokinetics of that particular medication are strongly dependent upon the alleles that people have, and there's over 100 different ones noted for the single gene, which is responsible for metabolizing the sort of proto drug which you consume into the active drug that has the effect. So yeah, there's over 100 different versions of the gene, which means there's over 100 different versions of the protein that it codes for out in the population. And in addition to that, some people have 2 copies of the gene, some people only have 1 functioning copy, and other people have no functioning copies of it, which massively change the way in which the medication works. So, these are things that doctors actually have to deal with. Our medicine wouldn't work the way it does if this didn't work. If evolution wasn't the way we thought it was.
Yeah.
And these guys get this from, some DI article somewhere, or one of their, fake experts say things like, you make one little change in the sequence and you completely destroy the function of this gene. And, these guys don't know what that actually means, and they just keep repeating that.
Oh, and the
The
one
thing
I
is,
love
though-
is everything has to come together exactly at the same time.
Oh God,
Otherwise,
yeah,
the
that
whole-
one drives me
yeah.
nuts.
Yeah.
It's spontaneous generation. Yeah, that's not abiogenesis. Proteins do not form all at once in one go.
Yeah,
They're built.
your lungs don't suddenly happen the same way, it's just
It's
crazy.
Well, when NEPy talks about that whole, mud puddle thing, he almost is literally thinking that abiogenesis is, just a bunch of abiotic chemicals, and all of a sudden you get a complete organism. That's what abiogenesis would have to be in his mind. And that's what he's saying is impossible. And of course it is impossible, but that's not what
He's the one
abiogenesis is.
person that I'm never sure is lying or just nuts.
Both.
It's because
Don't exclude the possibility of both.
Basically, they don't understand what they're talking about, and they're repeating points they've been told, or they're obviously lying about something. Whereas
So I generally
no.
don't want to. I generally don't want to say like, oh, chiropractors don't know, or they're dumb, or all that, because I'm sure there are plenty of chiropractors who are very smart. But my feeling is that in order to get that chiropractic, degree or certifications or whatever, you don't have to have taken like advanced biology or any advanced science. Probably they probably have to have some basic sciences, but I'm sure you could be a chiropractor without having to.
It's
know
like
what-
mechanics. The old car, you don't need to have studied engineering to be able to fix a very old
Yep.
car. But it helps if you have done, and you're not fully into stupid practices if you have done.
Chiropractors are required to do basic medical degree.
In
Otherwise,
the UK, it's an outcropping of physiotherapy. You have to know.
right.
Yep.
You have to know what
just
you're doing, and so
Australia
basically,
and
the American
Australia.
chiropractors are kind of banned from the UK, pretty much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same
It's
here.
given over to physiotherapy almost completely in this country.
The thing is, though, even where the chiropractor is properly trained, just the idea of cracking some bones and some massage having a physiological effect, it just doesn't hold water. The like if you could crack your knuckles and make your hand pain go away, everyone who cracks their knuckles would never have any arthritis, but that just isn't how that works.
I've had everyone, most people know I've had serious spinal injuries since I was young. Chiropractic is a valid medical practice, but it should only be done by someone, say an orthopedic surgeon, specialist, or a neurology specialist. It should never be done without film, and I'm not just talking X-rays. I'm talking CAT scans, MRIs, that sort of stuff, because the potential for harm is too great, and you should require, before you go to a chiropractor, your doctor should get film done and send a referral. You should never walk into a chiropractor's office and say, "Oh, my shoulder's a bit sore."
That sounds like how it is for the UK.
Yeah, and
we probably stole it from you anyway. So
no, I think you guys had it first from the NHS. But yes, chiropractic.
Blame it for a lot of stuff, but it knows what it's doing.
It's the same thing as acupuncture. Sometimes it can, sometimes it can work, and when you're in pain, try anything. Try as long as it doesn't, as long as you tell your doctor. For me, I get what sacroiliac nerve pain, which is basically like being kicked in the balls continuously. And when I get that, the thing that, because you can't get a steroid, you can't have an injection or anything into the sacroiliac joint because it's actually around near the tailbone. Dry needling on the nerve that runs down the end of the groin actually alleviates it. And I am very skeptical about that sort of stuff, but if it works and it's not going to do me any harm, I'll keep getting it. I even tried magnets once, and of course that was bullshit. Over to the next one.
Well, Miranda mentioned you can actually have quite a negative outcome from chiropractic.
Ooh, that sounds.
Yeah, that doesn't sound
people
good.
People
have broken people's necks. Chiropractors have broken people's necks with that bone cracking bullshit.
Oh, and no toddler should ever be put in the hands of a chiropractor. Their bones are just and joints are just wrong. I've, as Miranda mentioned, says there, they're not sure what's going on, but I've got neuropathy happening in both my feet, and it's sort of from knees down on both legs. If I had diabetes, it'd be explained, but I don't. so they're doing all sorts of tests and they can't really work out what's going on. But it's, yeah. So chiropractic can work if done by someone with the right credentials.
Yeah.
It's, yeah. Same as physio. Depending on the physiotherapy, it can be, it's so important to get the right medical advice. And I think that's where Australia might be leading, and other Nordic countries might be leading the world because of the universal healthcare we have. Unfortunately, Britain's used to have that, but
Well,
yeah.
ours is swamped and lack of funding. The Tories keep trying to push the American model, and everyone keeps going, but that doesn't work.
NEPy. Yeah, it doesn't work.
The Australian model is the one that everyone looks up to because it recognises relative wealth in terms of funding it.
Yeah, it's good.
But
it can be better. Well, it was better, but it's still good. It's still good.
Well, I hope the other countries aren't taking this attitude that whatever is American is better than anyone else, because you definitely don't want the American policy on gun control. You want the Australian one.
well, yeah, there's been a recent thing in this country where basically a lot of people are going, "What's Australia doing? They seem to be doing all right with what they're doing. Should we do what they do?"
Yeah.
Well, except breakdancing, I think Australia is pretty bad at that.
we're hopeless at that. Oh, that was the other one.
That was just hilarious. It's just a case of going, you guys are taking the piss now, aren't you?
I haven't watched any of the Olympics because
I mean, I've not watched any of the Olympics. I've watched the news, but not the Olympics.
Yeah.
I wait till the Olympics to finish and the Australian team of Roy and HG do their commentary, and I'll get the DVD or CD of that. Those guys are legend. I'll put a link in just for Neil. Do you follow cricket, Neil?
Occasionally, as it's a weird thing for an Englishman to say, but cricket is boring.
It's a strange thing. Yeah, I agree.
Well, maybe if it took longer, maybe it'll be more fun.
Well,
yeah,
I like 2020. 2020 is actually fun to watch, but they won't fund 2020 very well in this country because
Australia's got the best football code.
The English cricket, what is it? The English and Welsh, I should say, cricket club. Basically, they make too much money off regular cricket, so they won't ever fund 2020 properly.
Which is bizarre because Big Bash in Australia is just kicking ass when it comes to getting people to watch it and go to the games. And
I know someone
she
works for the board, and she's like going, yeah, they looked at 2020 and they worked out that basically more people were spending money basically not doing 2020, that they just went, yeah, no, we'll just quietly do what we've always done and let everyone get completely pissed in the stands and then do it that way, rather than spend, an hour on a game. I'd rather spend a whole day on it. Except
for the Ashes.
Oh, except for the Ashes, which we barely win anyway. So it's an Australian game, the Ashes.
Has anyone outside of Neil and Blah watched rugby union or Australian football, AFL? No?
No.
Oh, God, Australian football. I forgot about Australian football.
Ironically, Australian football is look. It's I don't kind of watch any of it, but Australian football is uniquely suited to being watched from the stands. It's so a lot of the action in rugby league, rugby union, even gridiron, a lot of it's, it's small, close in detail that's really hard to see from the stands. You go, what the fuck is going on? What happened? You might miss stuff. It helps a bit with giant screens and instant replays and stuff. That definitely helps keep the audience involved. But AFL, because it's such a, there's very little in close work. It's all sort of large scale, kicking it from here to there, and you can only, in some ways, a little bit like basketball. You can only take a certain number of steps before you got to bounce the ball, and it's an oval ball, so that's a skill to be able to run at full speed while bouncing an oval ball off a grass field without losing control of it. But then, so you've got much larger movement, and it is a lot easier to enjoy from the stands. So it's interesting that it hasn't managed to get anywhere else.
I think
it weirdly
rest of the
reminds
world's
me
scared.
of
Gaelic football
yes,
would be the closest thing you guys have.
Yeah, it's not.
it's
It probably shouldn't, since the two are share a common ancestor. Basically,
that makes sense.
yeah, AFL kind of, in some ways grew up out of that. So, yeah.
Gaelic football, just to me, is just like going, here's a ball, whoever gets to the end wins.
The original game of AFL was played on a field that was like 2 miles long and lasted for days. The very first game of it.
That's Australian. Sorry.
And you go, we should probably cut the size of this down a little bit. So it came down to an oval that you play cricket on, and at a time limit.
I mean, if
Thought that was pretty funny.
if there was a heaven, the game they would play in heaven would be rugby union, and
The old
I love
rugby
that
union.
game. I
New
love
one.
that game. It's and not just because you get to really hurt people in it.
Actually,
They don't really get hurt a lot.
Not anymore.
interestingly, in that way, I've got one of my really close friends I hadn't seen for probably 2 months. Anyhow, saw him, and he's got a giant scar on the front of his neck, and he managed to break his neck playing touch football, which is a neat trick.
How did
That-
he
Do that.
Crashed into another player with his head
That'll do it.
catching the ball, and
wrong angle?
and he showed the X-ray, so that was where they went in through the front of his neck to put screws and bits to stabilize the vertebra in his neck, and you just go, holy crap!
I was the second person in Australia to have a total C6-7 replacement, vertebrae and everything. If you imagine a universal joint in a car, that's what I got in my neck, and they go in through the front, which no one told me. I woke up and went, bloody hell, that cut my throat. And that's the only reason I can move my head, is because of that. And that was 15 years ago. And it's wonderful. It's the best spinal operation I've ever had. And I had my first 3 spinal operations before CAT scans were invented.
Oh, so, bloody hell.
That sort of gives you, I might be dating myself there a bit, but yeah, it was very much I ended up punching out the surgeon as well, because they had to, 3 times I went back in. And by the 3rd time being dragged back in hospital, I had enough. Also, when they did the neck operation, I was out of hospital in under 47 hours. When they did my first lot of spinal operations, I wasn't allowed to roll myself. They used to come in every hour and roll me from the left side to the right side. And I developed the most acute case of constipation, because I don't care who you are. Trying to use a bedpan lying on your side is almost physically impossible.
Having helped rear several children, you kind of realize that basically being lying down is not a good way to poo. you need gravity and you need the action of your legs.
Or a
basically
hose.
It's there's a lot of tricks they've been circulating on YouTube lately about helping your newborns poo properly, and people in the comments have been laughing at me, going, adults should do that occasionally as well, especially if you're in bed a lot.
I had one saving grace when I had all my early spinal operations. Is the best two of my a fuck buddy of mine was a nurse, and my best mate was also a nurse. And the fact that he was 6'4" and built like a Neanderthal was really great, because he wheeled me out. Blarg, I don't know whether you remember the old Townsville General Hospital next to the sea.
Yeah, I do. I drove past there one day and thought, looks like they've attacked that thing with a machine gun. I don't know, they were pulling off fixtures or something, and it had caused a whole pile of seemingly random chunks to be pulled out of the cement. You think, oh, that definitely didn't happen the way it appears to happen, but yeah, interesting.
Yeah, but they had big verandas where they used to wheel out the soldiers in World War II. So I used to get wheeled out, and my mates would go across the road and bring back a counter lunch and a six-pack. And the room I was in, if I laid on the left side, I could see into the nurses' quarters. And so obviously I had to buy a pair of binoculars.
I get where this is going.
But no,
hey, here's a fun story about Townsville, and since we were mentioning our American friends, during the war, there was an honest to goodness plan to completely demolish Castle Hill and turn it into a causeway out to Magnetic Island, so it would be more easy to put gun emplacements out there and then back them up.
Yeah, for people who don't know, the Townsville played a pivotal part in the war in the Pacific because it was MacArthur's headquarters. Bit of trivia there. Every now and again, when Castle Hill was also the bunker for MacArthur, and the arms, the ammunition bunker, one of them. And for years, Castle Hill used to catch on fire every year. And every now and again, there'd be a bloody big explosion of ordnance would be going off, which made it quite fun. That's enough about us Australians. Neil,
well, one last thing before, in terms of the Australians. So let me just show you, for those of you that haven't seen it, this is Australian breakdancing.
Oh, there's a woman.
That's a famous one. Okay, so what's been happening is then now you get all these people that are making fun of that.
I wish I could dance that well.
So there's a lot of these. So many people have done it.
I mean, there should be a breakdancing koala. Now that's something I would watch.
Ooh,
You know, I just
yeah.
wonder what that person must be thinking. You know, because they must have been getting so much crap about this.
But I mean,
Sometimes
how did
you roll with it and just enjoy it.
how did
Well,
breakdancing get into
there's
the Olympics?
American, I think, snowboarder who basically highlighted how you can get chosen for the Olympics without actually being good at what you do.
No. You're not talking about Eddie the Eagle.
No, oh, I mean Eddie the Eagle was that was before they brought in the professional rules.
That man's
He
a
was
legend.
great. Eddie the Eagle was
He's
great
a
because
legend.
everyone in Britain watched all the ski jumps because of Eddie the Eagle, because he basically
I
made
know.
it fun.
It's a great loss. Not having people around like that. The guy's still turning up on English TV. I see even today, and like it's not as though the guy wasn't actually a solid athlete in his own right. He just ski jumped like a brick.
Yeah. But there are people who can do that now, because all you have to do is place within the top 30 of whatever your chosen division of the Olympics is. And you can do that by basically going around the country and getting in, like, where they only have like 10 people doing it. Because if you finish top 15 in a certain number of events, you get a certain number of points to actually be in the Olympics. There's this American woman who did it. I don't know if it was snowboarding. She did it for something winter related.
I think it's something like that. Yeah, I did hear about it.
Yeah. And but because that brought up because of the Australian breakdancer, because people are going, how can that happen in the Olympics? And she went, well, I kind of did it for my sport. You know, I'm not in the top whatever rank she is numbered at, and she did it by basically spending a year. She had the money to basically go for a year going to every little event for her sport and finishing in the top 10 out of 12 people. And she got picked for the Olympics that way. And it's just like going, oh, so it's not in how long you do it, or how you don't have to get the top whatever time it is. You just have to go to a certain number of events and you get to go into the Olympics that way, which is nuts.
Neil, I put in the name of the guys you should look for. Roy, the Dream, Roy and HG. They're just a pair of Australian comedians who somehow wangled their way onto doing commentary for the Olympics, and of course made it completely filthy and rather fun. But it was still aired on live TV here.
Well, we've had that happen with our Paralympics. The last leg, hosted by Adam, somebody, an Australian comedian who recently got UK citizenship.
Oh, is that the guy with prosthetic leg?
Yes.
Yeah, seen him. Good
and
guy.
They basically revitalized the Paralympics in this country. The last leg is what everyone now watches instead of the Olympics. It's like, oh, the Paralympics is on because these funny people are covering it. Because it's actually more fun to watch the Paralympics than it is the Olympics. Because most people have no clue what's going on. It's like going, what are we watching? Or blind football. You're like going, how can you play football when you're blind? And then it's like going, oh, this is how you can play it. And then they'll actually do it. It's brilliant.
Or the what was it? The Australian comedy show Big Girls Blouse did a
Oh yeah, no, I've seen a few of those. Yeah,
a particularly funny one with the 1995 Gay Olympics, and one of them was the pole vaulting for men, which it was quite funny. Anyway, we've gone right off religion. Probably isn't a bad idea.
Oh, sorry, that's what we're discussing, aren't we?
Yeah, back to it.
Well, so next week, if we don't get Jesse coming on, because he said he was going to come this week, but he may have had some schedule issues. But if we don't, we can have you and you and Neo have let us know or educate us.
It'll be more set by Neil's time. Yeah, it's just
that's true. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
And
no,
yeah.
it's, I'm
just an
the
idea I threw
unreliable
out
one.
there that
I
might
mean,
be interesting. Who's I noticed that the new troll that's turned up, H something.
Hammurabi. So it seems like he's the one that said the Bible doesn't forbid or doesn't say that slavery or it's wrong to own, or no, that the Bible allows for owning people. Let me see if I can bring it up. I think it's like his thing is like Hammurabi or something.
Yeah,
Hammurabi.
What's it? Is it Hammurabi?
It sounds. Yeah, it's a Middle Eastern sounding. Because Hammurabi would be one of the kings of Babylon.
Well, I thought maybe that's what he was kind of going after.
Yeah,
I actually
but
had it like ready to go.
That might be his
that's
his
him.
name.
That's
I
it,
never
yeah.
see then usernames these days. So
he's weird, or it's weird. I have no idea of gender anymore, of what people by screen names.
What is a woman?
Good old emergency change of topic.
Yeah, it's
So
like whenever
quick-
he's getting just drummed out on a thread, it's like that's his go-to thing. What is a woman?
I like replying. Did you not read my post where I explained what that was?
Let's see. Oh man, it must have been a while back when I can't find it in the comments when I'm scrolling through. But yeah, he's another kind of weird one.
I could always tell when they ignore reasonable replies to their posts. If someone has actually answered what they've said directly, you can always tell there's it's like a Chris Matthews situation.
Yeah.
Oh, he really is having a horrible psychotic break. It's bad. He needs to have an intervention or at least a wellness check. Speaking of which, I had one of them a month ago. Some bugger called the police and they rolled up on the door and weird. They even showed me a picture of, do you know this guy? No. Yeah. So at least I wasn't spotted. But it was just strange having a wellness check.
I wonder if he deleted his thread. Because I can't find it.
It's possible.
Yeah, because it's the thread I'm looking for is the one where he was obviously wrong.
Reincarnation.
Oh no, actually, he is still here. Let me just share here.
A lot of these, I assume, are just extra
Fiction.
names of various people.
So
Hammurabi.
slaves were, slaves were never property in the Bible. And then they quote some Bible verses that has nothing to do with it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then,
You don't want to say that, something like, slaves were never property. Oh, but if you look up Exodus and Leviticus, it says.
well, Leviticus 25, 44 through 45, where it says,
yeah, that's the one. They will become your property.
yeah, they become your property. So and I think I think three of us, myself included,
Flojo tried
where,
that. Old Florida boy. He tried to do they were never property, and everybody went, have you read Leviticus?
yeah.
This is what it says.
So you would think these guys would be embarrassed when they get called out like this, but no, it has no impact on these guys.
Well, no, because only non-Christians read the Bible.
Yeah.
I mean, Benjamin calls every week. Torquay,
Is he? What's
he's
it?
the
Chat?
slavery apologist.
Oh, he's the one on the latest video. Yeah.
Good for the economy. I personally think he just sounds like someone who's had a severe brain injury and is walking down to his local bottle shop for a refill of his medication. You can't defend slavery. It's just
Clyde spent some time defending slavery on that exact argument, saying various things about how it was good for the economy. Also, it was necessary because they didn't have an economy or money or financing available at the time, so therefore you had to have slavery. And you just go, you can find coins from that era. You can buy them. They're not even very expensive. There's frickin' Roman coins everywhere. Admittedly, if you want one of the gold Caesar's death coins, those are a little more expensive. But so there's coins. There were banks in the era. They maybe worked a little different, but yeah. And then he goes along. Of course, this is Clyde. I said nothing like it. Never made such a claim, even though I can quote the exact words he had. So yeah, Clyde, quality guy.
I quite liked Libby's take on the whole slavery thing, which was to ask several unrelated questions and give the impression that because humans were learning, that slavery doesn't work, therefore that's why God allowed it. So basically, there was no difference between humans figuring it out themselves to there being a God letting humans figure it out themselves.
Well, it is funny where...
Yeah.
Funny how he found room for 613 commandments in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
About everything
that
from
was brought up
shellfish
going...
to pork to... Yeah. But
the whole going...
You've got to figure that stuff out yourself.
Fabric, but they didn't care about slavery?
Well, not just that. I mean, we're talking about a God that created the universe out of nothing. And this is like a big roadblock for him. I think, I can't remember who said this, but they were basically saying, well, by the time God gave those laws, slavery was already, instituted in that culture. It's like, it wasn't God around since the beginning of time. So what was he doing during all that time?
It's like going, well, your God is supposed to be better than us anyway. Why are they not going, it's better? No, this is what you should do because X, Y, and Z. We're not just going to let you do it just because. A God that lets you do something, and doesn't interfere in any way whatsoever is no different from a God that isn't there.
Yeah.
There's the latest video on the line is some slavery apologist as well. And he's saying, well, every parent needs to physically discipline their child.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like, no, they don't.
Well, no, not just that, but you know, a God and a parent is completely different. You know, like a
At first,
parent is not omniscient and omnipotent.
not if you're wanting to make that as an analogy, then every person would have to become a slave in order to be punished physically.
Yeah.
But that ain't how that works. So only some people get that result. It's a little bit like only some people get leukemia, and only some people, yeah.
The Morris Brothers school that I went to, of course, corporal punishment was a thing, but they had rules, and like you're only allowed 6 straps on each hand. That was the maximum, and you knew the rules, you knew how to bend them, and I took some time off school, a month, and no teacher noticed until it took them a month to notice I wasn't there. And
So I just think this
hey, I did my homework. I sent my homework in and everything, and I got pulled into the vice principal's office. And yep, okay, so 6 cuts on one hand, shit, that's going to blister. 6 cuts on the other, yep. And I think I was 14 at the time. And then he said, hold your hand out, you get more. And I went, you really want to do this, sir? And he went to grab my hand, and I dislocated his elbow. I was already quite skilled at martial arts by then. And so I left him screaming on his desk, hopped into the next office, knocked on the principal's door and said, you might want to go call the nurse. I've dislocated his arm. And once the story, you know, from both sides got out, because he said I attacked him, and the principal turned around and said, well, you got a week off, suspension, and yeah, you did the right thing. You stood up for yourself, and if he had hit you once more, I would have had to sack him. So you taking action and stopping him was actually a good thing. Just don't make a habit of it. And having something like we used to get, if we spelt something the American way, we'd get hit, which is why I still spell jail with a G.
I keep meaning to do that.
there are some things. Yeah, having something beaten into you, knowledge, can work, sort of, but honestly, it's
the potential for backfiring is amazing.
Is horrible and traumatic.
It's hard to find enthusiasm while in pain.
Yeah, and I mean, I saw kids as old, you know, as 14, pee their pants getting strapped, and the humiliation and everything. I really, really wanted to physically hurt so many teachers, but
when I was at school, they'd replaced the cane with the ruler. So basically, you'd still be hit over the hand with a ruler instead of a cane, because apparently that was more humane.
Our guys went to a saddler to have the straps made. Yeah, the
proper. Oh God, yeah, no, it's
yeah. But we're talking.
I've got a twin sister, and we tagged team the teachers whenever they started threatening one or the other of us with being hit over the hand. And we're like going, you know, well, you hit her, I hit you, or you know, she was like going, you hit him, I'll deck you to the.
But my sports teacher basically used to come to the dojo that I taught at as well, And yeah, his thing was, yeah, no one piss blood nut off, because you'll be the ones with blood on it. And I would occasionally get called into a nice quiet area, and someone is bullying someone out, you know, one of the little kids. Can you go and sort it out, but only sort of like dislocate a couple of fingers? That sort of thing. It was very weird, the Catholic upbringing or the education that I had. Strange, but they had rules.
Well,
smoking was one of them. You couldn't.
Well, I'm going to have to
cut
it off here. We're
Oh.
past hour and a half, and this
Sorry.
week we kind of meandered across multiple different subjects. So it's gonna be a little bit tough for me to put in the timestamps, but I'll do my best. But once
waffle,
again,
waffle, blah. I think that was it.
well, once again, thank you everyone for coming on. You know, we had some interesting back and forth discussions, but generally it gets a little more contentious when we get a theist. So hopefully we'll have someone next week. Otherwise, depending on Neil's availability, you know, we have another topic ready to go. So thank you everyone, and thank you everyone in the live chats. I know Miranda and Krista have been talking a lot about the different healthcare systems, or some of the processes in getting your health
Once
care
you get
approved.
on politics, it's a never stop. But yeah, let's all try and see if we can get some theists to turn up.
All right, sounds
Done.
good. Okay, well, thank you, and we will see you in the comments.